taking the measurements from SketchUp, I've determined that the length of this threaded rod needs to be 27 mil. I've set my little gauge at 27 mil, slapped it in there and marked it off with a red highlighter. What I've done then is set up my cordless bandsaw or Plow, what do you call it, oh Jesus Christ, mental block, what a hacksaw, power hacksaw to that with the clamp. I'll just cut some thread. What I've done is I've put some 4mm nuts, or actually a wing nut on there, so that when it burrs that a bit I can take it off. Not so much for that end because I've already deburred that end, so I can thread it on, but so I can thread the next nut onto this one. Anyway, the thing is, let's tighten up the blade. I've got this little, you mightn't be able to see much because my hand's going to be covering it, but take my word for it, it's going to be cutting and you'll see it cut. Turn it on and off we go. And there you have it. Right? Cut to length. What I then do is take the wing nut off. Actually I should put this on a drill so I can then turn the drill on and just hold on to the nut. In fact, I might do that. Look, I'm not going to bore you shitless with taking movies, but I've got to make 4 of these buggers, and once I've done that we'll go upstairs and show you what the next step is. So catch you up there. When I say up, I'm going back to the office. That's where I do my gluing and all that, at the luxury of the TV, computer and vino. For all you guys that haven't seen my portable bandsaw or motorised hacksaw, well, here it is. However, having said that, none of you should have seen it because I haven't displayed it before. But anyway, it's a Milwaukee, well, as I say, they call it a bandsaw, that I've set up in such a way predominantly for cutting metal, and having set it up this way I can use 2 hands. I've made this little sled for it, whereby it's mainly designed for cutting cylindrical or round stuff like bolts and metal rods, and so if I wanted to cut the head off this, there's this little rider in there, you can push it through, it slides along, it's got these little doovies I've made to make sure it keeps everything in line, parallel. So this is, as I said, designed for cutting bolts and round stuff. I mean, hey, I could use it for wood, but why would I when I can use my saw? However, if I really had to cut small, really small dowels like a 1/4 inch, I would use this, and not would, I have. There you have it, a bit of dowel. Is it tight? Yep. You want to cut it, you measure it out, turn the... Oh, this thing here, the trigger is in there, behind, hidden by all this scaffolding. And to get to that trigger, I've put in this little dowel that I've attached to a spring to pull it down. So when I flip this away, it pulls down and turns the unit on. Then I just push this through and touch my dowel. Bring it back. And to turn it off, I push that back up there. I had a different setup, but as the spring started getting, like I actually had this tension in such a way, I had a spring on here in such a way that when I pushed down, the spring held it down, but the spring lost its tension. Anyway, that's bullshit. Enough of that. So I've got actually that table. This is, as I said, for round pieces. I know I'm deviating again, and this is really for flat pieces, much like, actually it goes that way, much like my piano hinge, or as you might call it, piano hinge. That goes in there. This there is basically to brace this, because there's a split down there, to make sure it's kept together. And damn it, I'm just losing bits and pieces of it, because there's hardware, there was hardware under there that held that on. Now I've got to go and try and find it. It's like that, it's on the floor, so I will be able to find it. And of course this is just a miter thing to push it along, much like this. Alright, back upstairs. Back in the office, I can now show you where or how I use these threaded 4mm rods. Sorry, I've got these feet here, so I know what's the centre of the camera. So as long as I keep all the crap in between the feet, hang on, I'll spread my legs. Keep it in between the feet, I should be able to, should be right. Now this is what, hang on, I'll bring the other piece. Shit, he's dropped a foot again. Shoe, I hate it when they drop a shoe, they won't stand up. Two parts where I use these threaded rods in what I call the hip and the shoulder. The main reason is you cannot get into drill into MDF like that. On other parts, what I have is I have a retainer spot for the nut and the bolt comes through there, but in here I can't do that. So what I've done is, here's the profile of another one, because normally what will happen is, hang on, you get out of the way, piss off, sit there. This, depending on, yeah, it goes on like that. These three pieces laminated together make up that piece. Now the reason why it's open is so I can then put epoxy cement in there. Not epoxy cement, epoxy cement. This threaded rod has to be sort of like captured in there. Now what I've planned to do is drill a hole 3mm into that part, so the rod goes down the centre enough, and that captures the rod down there while I smear it with epoxy. Now the way I've got this set up is I've got this little jig here that will hopefully fit over that, and then this little receptacle there will, God, where is it? As you can see, totally organised. Of course I am. Here we go. That little piece goes in there like that, and then what I will be doing is using, well actually I won't be using that, but I'll put this on top, line it up with the other two, and I'll be using that as a drilling template to get that 3mm depth in that other unit. Now hopefully there's that 3mm extra that's got to go down to do that. That's the theory behind it anyway. I did the other one the hard way. It wasn't as neat. It's got glue everywhere. Now hopefully this will line it up. It'll help it glue on the outside, and the thing I've just got to make sure about is that all this little template doesn't get glued to that. Unfortunately, you're not going to be seeing that, because when I start gluing, I don't talk to no one. I don't even talk to myself. But hopefully this will hold everything together, and hopefully this little jig, while it's not hard to make, it's just 2 pieces. It's got the profile of that, two 6mm MDFs fit together, because that is a little bit smaller. It actually sits on top of that, but this jig now is used to line it up, and you've got to make sure that back corner is pointing the right way like it does here. So that's the theory behind it, and hopefully the next time you'll see it, you'll be seeing all these pieces together, and I'll be ready to screw it up, as in put it together with screws, not screw it up. Okay, see you in the next part of this video. Here we are at the drill press with that little stuff I set up. I'll put it into, God no I won't, into this centering jig. And hopefully, hell, it was centered, still centered from the last one. Let's tighten this up. And I might actually recenter it, because I'm now using a drilling template as opposed to just by eye. Now look, while I'm rooting around, I'll turn the camera off. Lucky I turned the camera off. Because of these, because it took me a while to get this right, because of these clamps, the unit couldn't bottom out properly, and I finished up making this little plug to put under it so it could bottom out on that, and that way I can keep a consistent depth of drilling. This has been centered. I'll bring the drill down till it hits where it should go. I'll lock it, the quill. Now that's at the moment 30.4mm. I want to go down 33. Let's make it 34. So I'll set the depth to 34. Start this up, and let's just hope it stops on 34. Target depth reached, and it goes into reverse, and Bob's your uncle. Okay, let's get this out, flip it over to the other side. Oh, look at that. Beautiful, right in the center too, which is usually where you'd want it. Well, I'd want it. Okay, let's do the other side. Still centered, beautiful. Turn it on. Down we go. I've actually got the drill set so pardon me, it'll go into reverse after the hole is set, which makes it easier to extract. However, sometimes it can be a pain because the drill might jam, and if it goes into reverse the chuck undoes, and if the drill's jammed and chuck undone, you're buggered because the drill's stuck. Alright, I've got the other one in my pocket. That goes in. Look, I'll turn the camera off because I'm just repeating what I did before, and I hate seeing it repeated. Let's see what you can, whether you can see it or not. We'll see it better upstairs, but down the centre there is the actual hole. It should be, well, we'll see whether it meets the 3mm standard when we go upstairs.